Okay, this here is a PowerPoint presentation I'm going to be giving to the Rosario Rodriguez, who is the County of Sacramento supervisor, who I am trying to persuade to provide funding to the roads department to work with me to put Lincoln Highway signs in Orangevale, California. So I will be doing a second video today on Roseville, which is a separate project, but just wanted to put up my slideshow, give a little bit of information on what we're working on, and hopefully within 6 months, a year tops, this project should be completed, and there will be signs on Greenback and in a few other locations of Orangevale helping to commemorate the Lincoln Highway in California and specifically the Sacramento County area. So, this is a presentation on the Lincoln Highway and its history. Lincoln Highway was created in 1913. It was the first road to run coast to coast. Established before federal government was involved in road building, and it was named specifically after President Abraham Lincoln, which in the early part of the century was still very important because of his keeping the Union together during the Civil War and afterward. So the Lincoln Highway was the first transcontinental highway to link coast to coast from New York City to San Francisco, terminating at Lincoln Park in San Francisco, which is a famous golf course and also near the Land's End area with great views of the Golden Gate Bridge. So the founder of the Lincoln Highway was Carl Fisher. Carl Fisher was the founder of the Indianapolis Speedway and specifically the Indianapolis 500 and was one of the first developers of Miami Beach, Florida, where obviously he made quite a bit of money and then moved toward public pursuits and championed this Lincoln Highway project, which was a multi-year project and even potentially a decade or longer to link coast to coast and have paved highways where previously everything was mud. And there you have a picture of the old way that cars would try and traverse across country or even across cities or counties, and it was not very easy until roads were paved. So this is a historic part of history throughout the nation and specifically California, where we're focusing. Also had help from other people who got on board. One of them was a guy named Frank Sieberling, who was the president of Goodyear Tire and Rubber. Another one, Henry Joy, president of Packard Motor Car Company. And these gentlemen together championed the project, knowing that if the roads were built, they would sell more automobiles, more tires, and the country would prosper more financially, which obviously we have. So they had to pick a route, and I won't get into that, but the route was chosen. Specific cities were chosen, and obviously the route tried to avoid major cities where there was congestion and have, a way to get from coast to coast as quickly as possible within the infrastructure that was available at that time. Later, in the 1920s, the named highways ended. So this nostalgia of the Lincoln Highway, the Dixie Highway, quite a few other ones had specific names to them, all sort of ended when numbers came about. Lincoln Highway eventually morphed into Highway 40, which today we know as 80. The lower route through Sacramento and into Lake Tahoe was named Highway 50, which still continues on through Nevada and traverses most of the original route that Lincoln Highway once was on. Numbers were easier to remember, but don't have quite the same romanticism or nostalgia that the names of highways have. So that's one of the things that we're trying to preserve is the history of these named highways, specifically the Lincoln Highway. So the Lincoln Highway was marked with markers at one time, which is how you knew where to make turns. and know that you were staying on the highway. There wasn't road signs as prevalent as we have today, and maps were not as good. So generally, you navigated by use of the signs on the road. So one of the things that we're doing is trying to replace a lot of these signs to commemorate the old highway and give a historical view of how you used to navigate the road. So this is the blue route, is the original 1913 route coming out of Reno, splitting, going to Lake Tahoe, and coming in the south side through Folsom to Sacramento, or the north side through Roseville to Sacramento. And if you notice, originally you didn't go to San Francisco through Fairfield or Vacaville. You went south down to Stockton, came in through Livermore, and took the ferry from Oakland over to San Francisco, because that's previous to that, the Carquinez Bridge had not been built. The red is the later route in the 1920s when the Carquinez Bridge was built. Then there was a more direct route to come through Solano County and into Napa County, and then down to Berkeley, where you took the pier. You went to the pier in Berkeley and took the ferry across to the Hyde Street Pier, and eventually made your way to Lincoln Park or wherever you needed to go in San Francisco. So here is the Bay Area routing coming in on the blue route, 1913 to 1925 approximately. After 1925, you could go either way. Here's a... Sorry about that. Here's a picture of the Hyde Street Pier, and this is in the 1920s. These would be cars queuing up to leave San Francisco in the bottom. The cars coming off the ferry at the top are coming in from Berkeley. And before the bridges, the Golden Gate or the Bay Bridge, which were both built around a similar time frame in 1936-37, this was how you got into San Francisco and out. So I have some old maps that show the old routing. Here's an old map of Sacramento in, say, the 1930s or 40s. This is an old picture of Folsom in the late 40s, early 50s. This is Orangevale, Greenback Road in the 1920s. And here is specifically Orangevale, where we're going to work on commemorating the route that it used to take, which coming in out of Folsom, you would have come up and you would have went through what was called the Lincoln Cut, went across the Orangevale Bridge, came in on Orangevale Avenue, made a left on Main, and then a right on Greenback, because Greenback did not go all the way through at that particular time. Here's a picture from the 1950s. The lower part of the road is the new Greenback coming through. The upper part where the turn is, that's the original road from 1915 to probably in the 50s, where you went up through the Cut and over the Orangevale Bridge. Here's a picture of the Orangevale Bridge, 1904 in the bottom, 1980s in the top. This is the sign, Gold Creek Bridge, otherwise known as the Orangevale Bridge, built in 1915. Very beautiful structure with an arch design underneath to support the weight. This bridge was slated to be torn down, but the local historical society in Orangevale worked hard with the county and state of Sacramento and California to have it retrofitted for earthquakes, and the bridge was retained with its historical significance. Here's the renovation happening in the early 2000s. This is Greenback Lane, Orangevale, heading towards Citrus Heights in the 1920s. Still same routing, but obviously the road has expanded to 2 lanes each way, and there is commercial businesses along all of the route now, where it was pretty rural back in the 1920s. So here's another old map which shows San Juan High School, 12 Mile House, and basically how you came in from Folsom and they called it Ashlands back then. That was where the Orangevale Bridge was, and then you went through Orangevale, and Citrus Heights had not been named yet. Citrus Heights was known as Sylvan, where Sylvan Corners was, which is right below where it says Antelope. We've already put signs in Citrus Heights. If you notice the 12-mile house on the left side, we already have Lincoln Highway signs there. Also at the 14-mile house, which isn't listed, and at the Sylvan Cemetery, which is right around where you see the Antelope Road sign. So this is Sylvan Corners in Citrus Heights, mid-1920s picture. Going straight, that would be Old Auburn in the forward top distance. To the right would be Sylvan Road. To the left would be Auburn Boulevard to stay on it, heading toward Roseville. Still a prominent intersection today, 2 lanes each way. And this is a historical picture from the Citrus Heights Historical Society. So currently at Sylvan Corners, there is this marker for Highway 40 and the Lincoln Highway that was put in some time ago. I took on a project over the last couple years, and the additional signs were installed at the 12-mile, 14-mile, and Sylvan cemeteries, working with the city of Citrus Heights, and that's the next subject matter we will show. So here are the historic Lincoln Highway signs that were made and were installed. This was a project that I did working with the city. I was running for city council at the time. I could not use my name because they could not promote a city council person running, as there were multiple people. So it says working with a local resident and the Lincoln Highway Association California chapter. Local resident was me. There were 4 locations identified: Auburn Boulevard adjacent to Sylvan Cemetery, Auburn Boulevard adjacent to 14-mile house, Auburn Boulevard adjacent to 12-mile house, and the Auburn Boulevard at North City limits where the border goes into Roseville. That's a future thing where there's an arch going to be installed, and we'll talk about that in subsequent slides. So this is the 12-mile house. 12-mile house is significant in Citrus Heights history. The original founder of the area, which is the Van Marens, Peter Van Maren, originally came from Germany, landed at the 12-mile house on a stagecoach, wound up marrying the female proprietor of the 12-mile house, which was a hotel and boarding house, married her and became the main prominent citizens within Citrus Heights, and later donated a lot of their land, which is where City Hall and Van Maren Park is currently. So we had signs installed. Lincoln Highway at DeVecchi, which is the street right before 12-mile house. That's 12-mile house right there in the distance. So 14-mile house, which was also a way station for stagecoaches and for people going to the gold rush as early as 1849, is still a significant landmark in town. It's privately owned. It was built or purchased by the Van Maren family in the early part of the 20th century. Not exactly sure what date, but it was given to their son, who's another Van Maren who wrote some history books on Citrus Heights. So there's significance there as well. And we had Lincoln Highway signs installed here where the 14-mile house is also. And in addition, we had a new sign made for pointing out the California Point of Historical Interest, which is the 14-mile house, signifying 14 miles from downtown Sacramento to this point in Citrus Heights. Sylvan Cemetery, which goes back to 1862, is a very historic cemetery in Citrus Heights, originally the town of Sylvan. And there are a lot of pioneers that are buried there, as there are World War I and World War II heroes, and most of the prominent city figures who built Sylvan and Citrus Heights are buried there over the last 150 to 170 years. So here at the Sylvan Cemetery, we now have historic Lincoln Highway signs installed commemorating that location, and there's signs on either side so you can see them coming both ways. In the future here, at the end of this year, there will be this new arch installed at the Roseville-Citrus Heights border. says, "Welcome to Citrus Heights." Notice over here on the right side, there is a Lincoln Highway red, white, and blue sign specified. So when this is installed later this year, we will commemorate the Lincoln Highway there as well. That was my doing, working with the city to bring about awareness of the connection to the past and making sure that we commemorate that and celebrate the past of the area in any new construction that is done. So, on the online map of the Lincoln Highway, those red, white, and blue Lincoln Highway signs on the left are now in the areas where our new signs were installed. The lower left there is the 12-mile house. The next one up is the 14-mile house. And then Sylvan Corners and the Sylvan Cemetery. The arch will be a little bit north of that, where it says Rush Community Park right now, a little past that on the upper part. That will be installed once the arch is built. So we're focusing here on Orangevale. If you notice the red part, that's Greenback Lane, does not currently have signage indicating historical parts of Orangevale. So that's one of our current projects, as is Roseville, which is not marked right now. I'm also working with the Roseville Downtown Merchant Association and doing a presentation this week on trying to get them to put money up to get signs at significant locations along Riverside, Vernon, and Atlantic in Roseville, Taylor Road as well. So that will be another video with another slideshow. But for now, we're focusing on Orangevale, connecting up with Citrus Heights. So I already gave a presentation at the Orangevale Library on February 5th. We gave a slideshow presentation, talked about the history, kind of like what I'm doing here, and got the Orangevale History Project involved, and they're backing our project and will be working with us closely to get this facilitated, working with the county and the roads crew. So, exploring the Lincoln Highway, guest speaker Andrew Saunders. They put in some of the historical pictures that they had. This is a 1915 Oldsmobile, one of the first persons to drive cross-country from New York to San Francisco, coming through Orangevale and Sacramento. So here's the area where Folsom is to the right, which has some signs and some points of interest on the map. The two little flags in the middle there are the Orangevale Bridge, and the rest of Orangevale on the red Greenback Lane will have points of interest and Lincoln Highway signs on it, hopefully by the end of the year, and then this map will be updated. This map is used by people who travel cross country and are interested in the history of Lincoln Highway, similar to Route 66, and they like to get off the main road, drive these back roads, go through the small towns, and see the points of interest on their historical journeys. I also like to do the same thing, which is the reason why I am championing this project, to leave something behind that commemorates the past in the area that I live in. It's very exciting. So we've identified quite a few areas in Orangevale. One of them is the William Calder House, which goes back to 1910 or somewhere in that area. It's on Greenback. This is what it looks like today. This is the pole that we're going to hopefully put the Lincoln Highway signs on. It's at Greenback and Pecan. We're going to try and get Lincoln Highway signs on this downtown Orangevale sign, which is put in by the Downtown Merchants Association of Orangevale some time ago. Signifies the downtown of Orangevale and its history with citrus growing. So our Lincoln Highway signs will be somewhere on the post of that sign. This is the corner of Greenback and Main. On this light post, we hopefully will have Lincoln Highway signs that have a left turn arrow indicating to turn left on Main to stay on the Lincoln Highway. This is Main turning right onto Greenback, coming the other way, and this pole will have Lincoln Highway signs with a right arrow indicating that you need to turn right to stay on the Lincoln Highway. This is the corner of Main and Orangevale. And here we will have signs when you're coming up Orangevale indicating to turn left on Main. And above this post will be a sign indicating to turn right on Orangevale off of Main, which are the ways that you would stay on the Luncoln Highway, heading toward the Orangevale Bridge. So here's the map with the open area in the red that will get signed and have indicators. The red, white, and blue Lincoln Highway indicators will be on this map once those signs are installed. So anyway, that's our slideshow. Appreciate you watching. Have a great day.